When you cut ties with someone who thrives on manipulation, the silence isn't silence for them. It's an echo chamber where their greatest fear lives. A narcissist survives on your emotions, your anger, your sadness, your guilt. They don't even care if you love them anymore. What they want is proof that you're still emotionally tethered to them. And here's the unsettling truth. When you withdraw, when you hold your ground in no contact, they don't think, well, maybe I hurt them, maybe I should change. No. What they think is, how can I get them to react again? How can I pull them back into orbit around me? They crave your emotional reaction the way a drowning person craves air. If you yell, if you cry, if you lash out, it tells them they still have power. That's the game. They know that the moment you start to feel, you start to break the silence, and once you break the silence, they can begin weaving their hooks back in. What they fear most is not your hatred, it's your indifference. Hatred still means you're engaged. Indifference means you've walked away for good. Think about it. Why do they send those vague messages out of nowhere? Hope you're doing well. Just checking in. Or maybe they post something online that feels like it's aimed right at you. It's bait, it's a lure designed to test the waters. They want you to bite because if you do, they can reel you back into the same toxic cycle, and they don't even need you to come back fully. Just a reaction, a comment, a like, a text back, feeds their hunger. And here's where it gets tricky, because you're human, you feel, you hurt. Sometimes you still want closure, or you still want answers. You want to believe maybe they've changed, maybe they see now what they've done. But remember this. A narcissist doesn't see you as a person in the way you see yourself. They see you as a source of supply, a mirror that reflects back their importance. If they can provoke you, then in their mind, they still matter more than your peace, more than your healing, more than your future. It's not easy to resist this. Silence feels heavy at times. The urge to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to show them that you've moved on, those urges are strong, but every time you give in, every time you react, you confirm what they secretly want, that you're still trapped in the game. And the game only ends when you stop playing. So what does strength look like here? It's not grand gestures, it's not shouting back, it's not crafting the perfect response. Strength in this context is quiet. It's the refusal to feed a starving fire. It's the willingness to sit with your discomfort, to endure the silence, and to let the narcissist wrestle with the reality that they no longer have the keys to your emotions. Because once you take that back, once you decide they no longer get to dictate how you feel, you become untouchable. Now, this doesn't mean the narcissist will stop trying. They may escalate, they may twist the narrative. They may smear your name or try to convince others you're the problem. But all of that, too, is about one thing, getting a reaction. And if you can hold your ground, if you can resist giving them what they crave, you rob them of their most powerful weapon. You see, the tragedy of the narcissist is that they can't create real connection. They can only feed off of it. They want you entangled in a web where your emotions belong to them, where your reactions are predictable, where they can measure their worth by your attention. But you don't have to play that role anymore. You can reclaim your agency by choosing silence not as a weapon, but as a boundary. You can choose your peace over their chaos, your future over their drama. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, you'll feel the pull. But the longer you hold the line, the more you'll realize something profound. They never had the power you thought they had. The power was always borrowed from your attention, your care, your willingness to react. Once you stop giving it, the illusion crumbles. So when you ask yourself, what does the narcissist secretly want from me now that there's no contact? Understand that at the core it's simple. They want your emotional reaction because your reaction is proof you still belong to them. The most powerful act of freedom is to deny them that proof. Stay silent, stay steady, let them scream into the void, and in that void they'll have to face the one thing they cannot endure, their own irrelevance. Would you like me to expand the next key point in the same Jordan Peterson? style delivery, so the speech begins flowing like a full sequence. When you decide to go no contact with a narcissist, you've made a declaration far louder than words could ever express. You've said, "I will not participate in this dynamic anymore. I will not be a pawn in your game." And make no mistake that silence is devastating to them. For most people, silence simply means space. Time to reflect, time to heal, but for a narcissist, silence is war. It's the ultimate challenge to their inflated sense of control, and it ignites a frantic need in them to pull you back in. What they want, more than anything, is for you to be the one who cracks first. They want you to be the one who breaks the silence, who sends the first message, who makes the first move, because if you reach out, they win. It doesn't matter if you reach out to yell, to demand closure, to ask how they're doing, or even to offer kindness. To them, it's all the same, proof that they still occupy space in your mind, that they still matter more than the boundaries you've tried to put in place. Why do they need you to break the silence? Because if they do it, it exposes them. It risks rejection, and rejection is unbearable to the narcissist, but if you do it, if you chase, if you initiate, then their ego remains intact. They can tell themselves, "See, I knew they couldn't stay away. I'm still the one in control." This is why they'll wait, sometimes weeks or months, dropping subtle hints, staging little traps, even using others to test the waters, all in the hope that you will be the one to reach out first. And here's the harsh reality. The silence is often the loudest part of the battle. Because it's not just their silence you're fighting. It's your own mind. The doubt creeps in. Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should explain myself. Maybe they really do miss me. That inner voice is exactly what they want you to wrestle with. They want you to carry the discomfort long enough that you feel compelled to relieve it by contacting them. They've trained you over time to put their needs before your peace, and no contact disrupts that training. But disruption always comes with resistance. It's in that moment, the urge to break the silence, that you discover what this boundary really means, because no contact isn't about punishment. It's not about revenge. It's about self-preservation. It's about creating a space where their manipulations can no longer reach you. And yet, in their world, it's framed as betrayal. They tell themselves you're being cruel, unfair, immature. And the reason they spin it that way is simple. If you believe it, you'll reach out to defend yourself, and once you defend yourself, the silence is broken, and they have you back on the board. This is where strength is tested. Because it feels unnatural to hold back when someone misrepresents you. It feels unbearable to let accusations go unanswered, but you must understand they are counting on that. They are banking on the idea that you'll value fairness or connection or closure enough to put your hand back in the fire. They need you to flinch. They need you to move first, because if you don't, they're left to face the truth that they don't have the hold on you they thought they had. Think about how profound that is. By simply refusing to be the one to break the silence, you dismantle their entire illusion of control. You stand firm in a way that confuses them, enrages them, even terrifies them. Because if they can't predict you, if they can't rely on your reaction, then they no longer know how to play the game. And without the game, they're left with nothing but themselves. And that's a reality they'll do almost anything to avoid. So, the silence isn't just absence, it's presence. It's the presence of your resolve, the presence of your boundary, the presence of your decision that you will no longer be dragged into a cycle where your worth is measured by how quickly you respond. Silence becomes your statement, your strength, your shield, and every day you refuse to break it, you reclaim another piece of your identity. Yes, they want you to break the silence first. They are counting on it. But the beauty lies in this. You don't have to. You can let the silence do the work. You can let it stretch across the days and weeks until it builds a wall they cannot climb. And behind that wall, you'll find something they never wanted you to discover, your own freedom. When you step away from a narcissist, when you choose silence and distance, they don't simply accept it and move on. They stage a performance, and it's not for themselves, because deep down they are tormented by an emptiness they can never outrun. The show is for you. They hope more than anything that even in no contact you're still watching, that you're still scrolling through their life, still analyzing their posts, still checking who they're with, still wondering if they're doing better without you. They carefully construct this image, new relationships flaunted across social media, extravagant outings, exaggerated happiness. It's never about reality, it's about optics. They want you to feel like you've been replaced, like you've lost, like they've won. It's a narrative they build not because it's true, but because they need it to be true. They thrive on the idea that your eyes are still on them, that your attention hasn't really left, because attention, even from afar, is still a form of supply. And it works on so many people, at least for a while. You look at the pictures and you wonder, were they really that bad? Maybe I overreacted. Look how happy they seem now. You compare yourself to their new partner, their new circle of friends, and you feel the sting of inadequacy. That's the hook. That's the exact emotional reaction they are after. If you feel diminished, if you feel envious, if you feel regret, then you're still tied to their narrative, but you must recognize the illusion for what it is. Because if they were truly content, truly fulfilled, they wouldn't need to broadcast it so loudly. Authentic happiness is quiet. It doesn't demand an audience. The louder they proclaim their joy, the more desperate they are for you to believe it. In fact, the spectacle is often a mask for their own panic. Panic that you might actually be living in peace. Panic that their grip is slipping. Panic that the game is over. So they build this theater, hoping you're still in the crowd, hoping you're still watching from the shadows. Because if you're watching, then they still matter. If you're watching, then you're not free. And this is the tragedy. They don't know how to exist without being observed. They don't know how to feel whole unless someone else is measuring them. That's why no contact is so powerful. It denies them the validation they can't manufacture on their own. But here's the challenge for you. The temptation to peek, to check in, to scroll just once is strong. You tell yourself it doesn't mean anything, that you're only curious. But the act of looking pulls you back into the dynamic. Every view, every second spent analyzing their life is energy you could have invested in your own. And that's exactly what they want, for you to stay tethered even silently, even from a distance. The path forward, then, is discipline. You have to starve the illusion by refusing to watch. Because when you stop looking, when you stop feeding their performance, the show loses its purpose. And in time, you'll realize something liberating. Their life, their games, their staged happiness, none of it has anything to do with you. It was never about love or connection. It was about control, about image, about power. And once you stop watching, once you truly redirect your attention to your own growth, you discover the truth they never wanted you to see. You discover that your healing is real, your peace is possible, and your worth has never depended on how they portray themselves. You find that the less you observe them, the more clearly you see yourself, and that clarity is everything. So when you feel the pull to check, remember that's exactly what they're counting on. They hope you're still watching, still lingering, still quietly feeding their ego. But you have the power to turn away. You have the power to reclaim your gaze, your focus, your time, and in that act, simple as it sounds, lies the deepest form of freedom, because the moment you stop watching them, they can no longer perform for you. And in the silence of that empty stage, you will finally hear the sound of your own life returning.